Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the video, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also, please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you haven't done so already. Now, looking at the put to call ratio, it's sitting at 0.88. It's fairly high, but it's definitely can go higher. I was also looking at the weekend Wall Street thing. Let's see, what is that now? Last time I looked, it was negative 115. It's down 124 right now. So the market's probably going to gap down. I'm not quite sure how reliable or what this is related to as far as points on the futures, but right now it's just down 124 points. So maybe you could see a gap down a couple dollars. I don't know. We'll have to see. But right now it's not looking good for futures. Probably going to gap down. So yeah, the put to call ratio is put 0.88. It's fairly high, but it can go higher. The economic calendar for the week, lots of Fed speakers. There's just too many. You definitely need to have the economic calendar like bookmarked and saved and look at it every morning. I do every morning. Two things I always look at before I even go into the trade ideas room is I look at the put to call ratio and I look at the economic calendar to see if there's been any changes. You're always going to check every day because sometimes they surprise you. So yeah, right now lots of Fed speakers throughout the week. We get FOMC on Wednesday. These are the kind of meetings that they just blurt out a bunch of things and just see how the market reacts to it before they actually make a decision. So these are the kind of meetings that could actually have a pretty good move. So definitely get FOMC on Wednesday. CPI numbers on Thursday morning. And then we have retail sales and consumer sentiment on Friday morning. So we've got a couple of things we have to keep an eye on as far as that, and any other news that may develop through the week. Russia could end up doing something crazy. I don't know. So definitely keep an eye on that. Because I have VIX up right now. And VIX has been rejecting the 32 area, this trend line right here. You can see this is a daily trend line, popped over it, came back under and just stayed under it. Now it bounced off the 20 EMA, came back up to it. If the market does gap down, probably could see VIX over 34 to 36, but we've seen a number of times where the market will gap down huge, and by the time the market opens, it recovers. So you don't celebrate early. You always wait until the market actually opens. So, or it can gap up huge and sell off by the time market opens. So that's just the way the market's been. But I'm also start off with SPY now. So obviously SPY is probably going to gap down tonight with futures, but we'll have to see what happens. I think 350 is going to be a pretty big area, and I think it's going to be really hard for it to break, at least on the first try. I'm thinking that we're probably going to end up seeing a bounce at some point this week. Maybe tomorrow, if we gap down tomorrow, we could have a V shape rally. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. It'll be very dependent on what the news. But if we do gap down, gets below 260. This right now is 357 is a low on the weekly, 52-week low right now, and breaks below that. I think we're going to see 350 pretty fast, and that's the area where I would think we would bounce, have a nice violent bounce. But you never know. But we'll just take it one day at a time. But if it does gap down and ends up managing to recover green, I would watch it over 364, 365 for push to this 369, 370 area. And we get like a gap fill here. We need to fill actually too, because it gapped up, came back down, never filled the gap, then it gapped down below where it gapped up. So it's kind of unique seeing something like this. I don't think I've seen this happen too often. But yeah, we got a two-way gap here that definitely needs to be filled. So over 370, we're going to end up filling this gap to 375, even possibly get to 380 pretty quickly. So have to see what happens with that. Now, a lot of earnings coming up. We could end up seeing earnings run-ups. Netflix is always the first one on my mind every time we have earnings, if possible load. Right now, it's still sitting in this channel. It had a little bit of a dump because of the market, but I would watch it over this 240 level. It ends up having a green day, and we get back to the 240 level. We can end up seeing a huge push out of Netflix for earnings run up. So definitely keep an eye on that. I'm not interested in down 220. I think that we need to have a nice solid green day, and then we get to the 240 level, and then we might actually see a continuation. But we could also see this drop more. But we'll just, I think this is setting up for a big run if the market doesn't crap on it first. So also Christmas season's coming up, and you gotta also think about all these stocks with shipping and online retailers. So obviously FedEx and UPS are going to be ones to be watching. And actually, you know, considering that the market had a down day on Friday, FedEx did pretty well. So I would watch FedEx over over 155. What is this? Yeah, over 155 for push to 160. It gets over this 160 area, it could end up having a pretty significant pop. You know, probably next area be 165. And it gets over 165, it could end up trying to make a gap. I don't think it's going to make a gap fill on the first try. I mean, that's a pretty nasty run. That would take weeks to do that, to fill that. But definitely could see a push to 160, 165, 170 on FedEx. With Christmas season coming up, the shipping people are going to be very, very, very busy. So I'm going to cover UPS now too. I think FedEx chart looks a lot better. UPS, big red day. So I think FedEx definitely looks better than UPS. But if you want to look at UPS, I mean, I get this trend line right down here from a couple years ago, 2020. It held this, so it could actually hold this 150, 750 area and try to bounce. So I would watch it over 160 for a push to 165, possibly 170, even 170. If you got lots of gaps to fill right here, the 165 area, then you got a gap right here around the 173, then 182, it went to 185. There's a gap, so got lots of gaps here to fill on the daily, and so I would definitely keep an eye on UPS. I think that's would probably end up bouncing off this 157, but if it does end up losing this 157 level, the next big area, 155, 150 would be a psychological number, big round number. So, but yeah, I'm anticipating the bounce. I think FedEx, like I said, FedEx chart definitely looks better. Tesla is another one. You know, I know Tesla's freaking out because of Musk buying Twitter, and he's probably going to get distracted by it, and that's fine and dandy, but I think eventually that Tesla will probably end up trying to bounce. I don't know if it will be tomorrow or not, but definitely watching around this 220 level, even this 210 area. But I would watch it over 225 or push to 230, 235, 240, 245, and 250. I think that Tesla could end up having a strong bounce, because usually when it has these big red candles, I end up having a recovery bounce. So I would think that, I mean, obviously the RSI is below, what is that, 26 on the daily, and as this is making lower lows, RSI is going up, so that's a bullish divergence, another reason why I like it long. So definitely watch Tesla for a bounce. Microsoft, another one. Even though I said Microsoft just loves to bounce at this 250 level, it just got crapped on Friday, gap down. We'll have to see if it actually will hold this 230 level and try to bounce, because the last time it got to this 232 area, it bounced. So I would watch it over 235 for push to 240, fill this gap to 245 and 250. It's been struggling at 250 right now, so have to see if that does happen. Now, if it does, and it's to lose this 232 area, next big area would probably be 230, 225, 220, and this 210 area will be pretty significant on the weekly. So definitely keep an eye on Microsoft. Amazon. Now Amazon, Christmas is coming. They should have some pretty big numbers. A lot of people are going to be buying on Amazon for Christmas, obviously. So I would watch it over 115 for a push to 118. You get this gap fill 118 to 120. And you get the 120 to 122, 125, 137, 127.50, 130. Then you get this area 131 for gap resistance right there. So definitely could end up seeing a bounce for Christmas, but the market will end up dictating that if it does do anything. So BA, I was looking at BA earlier, and I was actually kind of surprised that it was holding pretty well considering what SPY was doing on Friday. So plus also the weekly, we get this channel that broke down out of it, came back through it, then it broke down below it again. Now it's retesting the bottom of that trend line around the 129 level. So if it gets over 130, we could end up seeing a push to 133, 135, and 135 is where that line is. If it gets over that, get a push to 140, 145, possibly even 150. So Boeing, considering how bad the market was on Friday, it actually held up pretty well considering. Meta, Facebook, I don't know why Facebook ever changed to Meta. I think this is the stupidest thing they've ever done. I always say that every time I mention the ticker. I think it's dumb, but anyways, this is got a huge bullish divergence on the weekly. You can see right here, it was down below 18, up here 185. It's making lower lows. It's down to 135, and the RSI is rising. Same thing right here on the daily. Same thing on the hourly. Multiple time frames is showing a bullish divergence on many indicators. So usually when that happens, we end up seeing a strong bounce. So I would watch it over 135. We'll push to 140. It gets over this 140 area. This is where it's been stalling out, 140. We could end up seeing a pretty big breakout to push to 145, 150, 155, 160. I don't think it's really going to get over 170. But like I said, earnings season is coming up in the next few weeks, and we're going to see some earnings run-ups. Hopefully, we usually do, but we haven't last in a while. So I'm thinking that this time might be different, because the market's so oversold and we haven't had much run-ups and the earnings have been huge misses. So at some point, I think we're going to get an earnings run-up, not unless the market or news kills it or something like that. But anyways, that's going to do it for the watch list. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the room.